Welcome to the KSCIRC Software Documentation Intro. One of the most valuable resources at KSCIRC is time. Documentation and backup take time in the moment, but it saves a huge amount of time in the future. Here are some scenarios that can go poorly without documentation and backup. A programmer leaves KSCIRC. One of their programs needs to be changed, but no one can interpret the code, or worse, the code can't even be found. A technician leaves KSCIRC. This technician was the only one who knew the ins and outs of a quirky program. No one wrote down instructions, so now someone else has to figure out the program. Hopefully data collection isn't poorly affected in the meantime. You wrote code for a program that needs a new feature, but since you worked on this program years ago, it takes a while for you to figure out the structure of the code and why you chose particular constants. You're working on the same code file with someone else. The changes you make keep disappearing. They must be working on the same section as you, and you have no idea why they made the changes they did. An issue is found with a particular version of a program. A particular computer uses this program, but there's no indication of which version it is. It's difficult or impossible to figure out whether this computer was taking bad data or not. Your file corrupted while you were working on it. You have no earlier drafts to go back to, so you have to start over. If documentation suffers, KSCIRC suffers. Tasks take too long. Things need to be redone. Worst case, data is irretrievably ruined. We have a system to minimize issues like these. By tracking changes, keeping backups, and documenting where software is kept, we can literally avert disaster. We write code on our computers, back up drafts of code on Bitbucket, save releases to the server, and save instructions on ProProfs. Sometimes, to share documents with those outside KSCIRC, we use OneDrive. ProProfs is the documentation center. It's a website edited by KSCIRC that's part manual, part catalog. Since it's open to the public, editing requires a sign-on but reading does not, it's for sharing non-sensitive information, such as non-confidential user instructions and server links to code files. Here's an example of a page on ProProfs that provides guidance on standards for developers. Here's information on a piece of software created at KSCIRC. The user manual gives instructions for installing and running the program. This one includes links to YouTube videos as a helpful illustration. This page gives some additional technical information on handling the data in relation to the program. This page is an About document. There should be one for every piece of software, and a copy should be on ProProfs. It's entirely text-based, and it tells us about the program, including its purpose, who wrote it, and where to find materials on it. It includes links to the server, Bitbucket, and OneDrive. Using this page, you can see where to find the code, the user guide, and example files. Some of this information is helpful to the program users, but some will only be important for programmers. Bitbucket is the code file backup and tracking center. It's a website that keeps copies of programs and tracks changes to those programs. In this way, it's a backup and a collaboration tool. You'll have a Bitbucket account associated with your work email. The Victory One workspace holds the KSCIRC program backups, or repositories. Once you have access to the Victory One workspace, you'll be able to download code from Bitbucket to your computer and upload changes from your computer to Bitbucket. This is a repo for a program that has a relatively short history of changes. Here you can look at the files. Here you can see who made changes and when. It's a way to keep track of the drafts of a program. This is a more complicated history, with more than one person working on a program. It shows where people made their own drafts to work on parts of the project, then added their changes to the main draft of the project. On your computer, you'll need an interface program to send and receive stuff from Bitbucket. There are many options, but we will highlight just two. SourceTree is a more point-and-click operation. It has a lot more buttons, menus, and visualization. Gitbash is text-based. You type in the commands. Either is fine. They both accomplish the same thing, so use whatever works for you. You'll learn more about these components in other instructional materials. It can take some time to master, but KSCIRC's documentation procedures are designed to save on time and stress. Don't be the person who holds back science. Don't be the person who wants to punt their monitor into the sun.